evening, Gary.
Good evening, TC, and welcome all to our weekly podcast, Terry Curran's The Curran View, with the idol of Hillsborough, Mr. Terry Curran. Apologies for being a minute late. I was just watching Basingstoke Town's Paul Hodges score from the edge of his box an 82-yard shot to seal a 3-1 win against Dorchester. I've just posted it on the group. Have you seen this before we go into our magic moments?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I literally just come
But I
across
shall have
it.
a look after we've done our podcast.
You know when it's like 2-1 and it's like final throws and the goalkeeper goes up and the player just pings a free kick into the box for the goalie to head it? Well, he missed. The ball's come down to this fella on the edge of his box and he's just pinged one 82 yards. It's hit the post and it's just nestled into the back of the net. I mean, what a phenomenal goal. What's the furthest goal that you scored, T, in your career?
The furthest one was for Forest against Fulham.
Okay.
Just inside the Fulham's half. I beat a couple of players and then chipped the goalkeeper.
Wow.
The best goal I scored in my career, anyway.
And that was the one that George Best liked, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Magic moments, T. What have you sourced for us this week?
Well, I'm going for Odegaard's goal, the second goal for Arsenal against Wolves. Great vision to be able to see, but at the same time, you've got to look at the goalkeeper leaving such a gap for him to play it through. But great vision to be able to see it.
A difficult game as well. I know Wolves.
I thought Wolves played quite well.
Yeah, they did, and down to the bare bones. But at this stage of the season, you know how difficult it is to get results, and they slipped up in Europe, and it was a tricky game to get through, to get the 3 points. And Odegaard, he had a shot, bounced back out, and it was great. I loved his goal scoring celebrations. I don't know what the eye was all about, but there you go. Got great vision.
The two major issues there, what you're on about is that you've got to give O'Neill a great mention for what he's done, not only what he did at Bournemouth, but what he's done at Wolves.
Superb. I really like the cut of his jib as well. I like
Gary he comes across well. He really does. He talks a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And secondly, Arsenal, if they were going to get through to the semi-finals, they had to beat Bayern Munich at Highbury. And just little things. When you get to those quarter-finals, semi-finals, you need the look of the ball to run your way. I don't think Manchester City had it, and I don't think Arsenal had it. But at the same time, Jock and Tom was on about Bayern Munich's had a bad season. I said, I think they've concentrated more this season.
Yes.
I mean, they've won it 12 times on top of that league. Yeah. Does it become boring? Does it become monotonous? It will do to all the German fans. So sometimes they do think, well, let's have a really go at the Champions League. But for some unknown reason, and yes, they're a massive football, well, the biggest club in the world, but they seem to get through each time, don't they, Real Madrid?
It's uncanny, really, that they sometimes don't play well and get the result. Talking of results and getting, Arsenal just took the lead. Trossard has just scored against Chelsea. It's definitely onside, so they ain't going to roll that one out. A great signing from Brighton, but you're right, and I think great teams do find a way of getting great results when they don't particularly play great. And Man City absolutely battered them, didn't they?
Battered them and they got it. In Madrid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And still lose that game. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. And again, the penalty shoot. I think sometimes, when you're playing against a team, you're playing against reputations. And I think Madrid still hold that reputation of being the greatest club side in the world. And I think sometimes you can play against that. And because they are that great, they sometimes lean on that and get something from games that possibly they shouldn't get it from.
Both those games, and I'm not sticking up for Manchester City one little bit, went in Madrid's favour.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Both those games, I don't try to be honest. I am honest.
Yeah.
Well, I'm honest in my opinion.
Mm.
Everybody else sees the game different. They might have seen that Real Madrid were the better team, but for me, Manchester City, score 3 goals.
Mm.
They go 1-0 up, then 2-1 down, then 3-2 up.
Yeah.
Right. Now, you look at it. They've taken the 3-3 draw back to Etihad.
Mm.
Madrid get the first goal, and you know as well as I do, teams like that what can keep the ball are going to make it so difficult. And it weren't until the last 10 minutes, even though Manchester City put pressure, attack after attack, to try and get a goal, to get something out of the game.
Yeah.
And it was a great finish by De Bruyne. But you look at the 2 penalties that were missed, they were both shocking from 2 great players.
Mm. I mean, Bernardo's in particular was awful, wasn't it? I mean, I know that they put it down to, we were standing there waiting for the ball to be thrown back.
I tell you what it is.
Absolute rubbish, that is. That's absolute rubbish. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And
you can practice whatever you want on a training pitch with penalties.
Yeah, you can.
Don't be convinced me on that. When you've got, excuse me, 50,000 people in the stadium, right? And then whatever worldwide viewers watching on the TV, you've got to get your mindset, pick a spot, whether it's straight down the middle. For me, I would always try and find a corner, pace and place, But when you've got no run on, when you take no run on it, and you don't get an angle on it, all right, you can have an angle, but it makes the goalkeeper anticipate you are going to go that way. But you can always put it in the other corner, even with coming from an angle at the ball. But it's such a bad penalty, wasn't it?
It is, but again, you're right that you can practice these things and you can get everything ready. You can organise yourself. I mean, at that level, it's the top level, but even at any level. And I remember going back when I managed me kids team, we had to actually go back and do a penalty shootout on a Sunday. Well, on the Saturday, I had all the boys practicing penalties, and they'd have 20, 30, 40 penalties each, maybe. And when I actually got there on the day, 2 of my best penalty takers just turned around and said, I don't fancy it. And this is it at any level. Players are going to fancy it and some are not going to fancy it, and you can practice, but you cannot replicate walking up you against that goalkeeper and trying to score in a penalty shootout. And at that level, with the eyes of the world watching, it's absolutely magnified. And Bernardo Silva, 9 times out of 10, had scored a penalty, as would the other lad, what's his name, Kovacic.
Kovacic.
You look at him, you think, yeah, Kovacic is going to score this. I mean, he's got great technique. I mean, he hits the ball nicely. But you can almost
the pressure can get to certain players, choose who they are.
Well, we've seen so many penalty shootouts recently, and you can almost see a player's face, and you think, do you know what? He's going to miss it. And you can see, you can read his face, and it's something just with that body language. You look at his face,
you can see
and you see a bit of fear. And Kai Havertz should have played that ball earlier, and perhaps Arsenal would have gone 2-0 up. But yeah, Man City, sadly, out of the Champions League. Bayern Munich in the Champions League. And unbelievably, Eric Dyer is an absolute 100% Kraut now, isn't he? Did you see that interview after? He's getting more German by the day, Eric Dyer is.
He's a bright boy, isn't he? He obviously speaks Portuguese.
Yeah, he was brought up there, wasn't he?
He's a bright boy, Mm-hmm. I would imagine it wouldn't take him long to speak any language, really.
Oh, it's English, but with a German accent.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more funny. I mean, Joey Barton did that, and Steve McLaren did it. Not German, but French and Dutch. And it's so funny when you see an English person. I mean, Harry Kane don't speak German, or even try and speak German in broken English, but Eric the Kraut does.
I wonder why it makes you do that, because I know when he went to Spain, he started to speak slow, don't you?
Some people
when
do.
you're ordering
Yeah,
something, you know, you speak.
yeah. Can you have a paella, please? And I think, I ain't fucking stupid or deaf or, just talk normally. I do understand you, but you're right. Some people do. And some people as well, if they go and live in a different part of the country, pick up their accent quite quickly, yet other people can live in another part of the country for many, many years and still maintain that accent. It's quite funny, isn't it, really? But my magic moments, too, from the weekend was Trent Alexander's goal, Alexander Arnold's free kick goal against Fulham. He just strikes a ball with such composure, doesn't he?
Without a question of a doubt.
And makes it look so easy.
He's as close to Beckham as you're going to get with a right foot, It
makes it look so easy. You almost, as soon as he's walking up to take a free kick like that, you almost know he's going to bag it, don't you? Alexander Arnold. And
he's got the angle to perfection, hasn't he?
Absolutely. And Gareth now can have 26 players in his squad, so I'm assuming that Alexander Arnold will definitely be one of those on the plane. One of them, I hope, is on the plane, and that's Eze Edeby. Well, I can never say his first name. It's a bit of a mouthful.
I tell you what, he's had a good season then.
I think he's a tremendous player.
Since he's come back, he's playing really well for Palace.
I wish his name would be something like Peter or Paul or Thomas or Terry. But Eberiche Eze, very difficult name to pronounce his first, but he does make it look simple.
It's easy like a Sunday morning.
Oh, doesn't he just? How he's got his foot a bang bicycle kick and pick that. He's got such power, such poise, such composure. He can go either way. For me, 100%, he would be in every England squad that I picked if he was fit, because he has had a few injuries this season. But he, again, another player that makes the game look so simple.
All those players, what's composed on the ball and have that first touch, make the game look what it is, a beautiful game to play.
Absolutely, T. And finally, Morgan Rogers' goal for Aston Villa against Bournemouth.
Brilliant.
Bournemouth took a 1-0 lead. Again, another player, Dominic Solanke. I mean, how near to an England squad is Solanke? And if Solanke was playing for a top 6 team, he would 100% be on that plane.
Don't forget, he started at Chelsea and gets a great move to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Didn't work out for him at either club. For what reason?
Young un, yeah.
Goes to Bournemouth, and he really struggled in his first season at Bournemouth.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And, I mean, these last 2 seasons have been terrific for him.
But again, with younger players, sometimes it does take that, doesn't it? And now he's almost grown into his skin, and he looks every inch a top player. And I think he's going to go for a lot of money in this close season.
Maybe next season, he's ready for another big move.
If you was Arsenal and you're looking to buy a goal scorer, a central striker, if you got the choice of Solanke or Tony, I'd go for Solanke. Who would you go for?
Solanke. What am I talking about? Solanke. Without a question, I'd take him.
Yeah, all day long. I think it's just unfortunate that he plays for Bournemouth.
He's just started to mature now, and he got his all-round game together.
But again, he's got everything. He's got pace, he's got power, he's got composure, and I think he's
filled into that body.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think he's a top player. And again, Ivan Toney, I think he's a good player, but for me, I'd rather have Dominic Solanke than Ivan Toney. And another great performance by Ollie Watkins, again growing into his position. He's had a tremendous season this season. I know Troy reckons he's a winger that's played down the middle, but again, the game, as you know, T, it's all about consistency. It's the first season really that he's hit these heights. Can he do it again next season?
You see, a consistency. I'll tell you about consistency.
Yeah.
if you're in the top team like Manchester City, Real Madrid in their league, and Barcelona, in that league, or playing with the top teams with the top players, you're more consistent than you are playing at Sheffield United, or Bournemouth, or Aston Villa. Or wherever you are, it's so easy to play in those top teams because majority of the time, or 98% of the time, you're receiving the perfect ball. People have got to stop this by Now, there's reasons why they're not consistent teams. You can look at the balance of the team, what's being picked. You can look at the player. You can look at whether the team is capable of defending when they get caught out. That's what makes elite managers. Yes, I get the consistency bit, but it's so simple to be. I hear people criticise players for walking about on a football pitch. They've got to work harder on a football pitch. Look at Messi. I bet he walks more than anybody else on a football pitch. And he tells people, they ask him, what's the best advice? Learn to walk on a football field. Can you imagine that with an English coach? They're go ballistic.
Absolutely.
Because if you're not in that type of team, what's winning week in and week out, and you're losing, and you walk about. Now, when Messi walks, he walks for a purpose and a reason. Now, you can walk on a football field and be idle because you're thinking, is he hiding? But it's so simple to play in the top teams. It is.
It's much easier to play in a better team than in a struggling team. 100%. Book corner, our book of the month, Salute, the inside story of England's own goal in Berlin's Olympic Stadium by John Leonard. I am going to be doing a podcast with John talking about this book, but it ain't long until we all go to Germany, Berlin, Munich, whatever part of Germany, Cologne. I'm not very familiar with a lot of big cities in Germany, because not all football clubs take the name of the city, do they? Like, famously, Sampdoria are from Genoa. I never realised that they were from Genoa until they had Italia 90. But it's going to be a tremendous Euro 2024. And who do you fancy going into the tournament? Because we are now end of April, so we've got May. And
I'll always let me outrule my head, but I think we can't. We've got the players to do it. But Germany's got to be up there because it's in their backyard. But I fancy Madrid. Not Madrid. France. I do fancy France.
And usually with England, whatever city it is, they'll put us in an absolute shithole, don't they? I mean, the worst part, the kind of
get
basement
on with it.
Or the dustbin,
get on with it. Good players,
there, don't they?
Good teams. Get on with it and knock out whoever they've got to knock out. Play on whatever pitch whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and take all the negatives and put them into positive. That's what good teams do.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, nobody will convince me. If Southgate picks the right team, we'll win it. But France always seem to get the balance right a lot more often than what the English do.
And you say with the Germans being at home as well, I think Germany, it's Nagelsmann, isn't it, that's taking the German national team into this tournament. I think
but
Germany will go
better,
along. I think Germany will go
better than what they have done for the last couple of seasons.
I think they'll go a long way too. I think the Germans will get to at least the semi-finals, because again, they tend in tournaments to find a way, don't they? And Germany traditionally, although they don't sometimes play that well, always seem to get to the later stages.
They make it difficult for teams to break them down.
Absolutely. And I think they've got some damn good players, so I wouldn't back against the Germans. I agree about the French. I think the French are going to be strong. I think the Spanish will be strong as well. I think we will. And I think Portugal, I think that Portugal have got some tremendous players. So I think there's, 4, maybe 5 teams that I think there's going to be not a lot between them. And then, of course, a Belgium-led, or a Kevin De Bruyne-led Belgium with, who's the fella that plays for Chelsea? I've had a really bad week this week in terms of I ain't had much sleep. It's Passover, Owen. Happy Passover to all our Jewish listeners. Lukaku, again, always good for goals at that level.
Oh, the strike, you mean?
Yeah, you look at his goals. I'm trying to
think Chelsea, but he's not at Chelsea anymore.
No, he is, but he's on loan, isn't he? And then, of course, you've got Trossard as well. The Belgians have got some decent players. So, they're 6 just off the top of our head. They always remind
me of Holland. They've got good players, but never put it together.
They haven't, no. They've never won any major tournament, have they, Belgium? But again, could it be the year that the Belgians managed to stamp their mark on a major tournament? Who knows? But I think it's going to be a fantastic viewing, and all starts in the middle of June. Immortal Torino, how the Supercar air crash robbed Italian football of its champions by Roberto Panino. That book comes out shortly. Supercar air disaster. We have talked about it on the podcast before, but that was on the 4th of May 1949 when the plane carrying the Italian champions of Torino, El Grande Torino, crashed on the Supercar mountain, and all players, including management, etc., died on that fateful flight. It was a terrible day for football and for Italian football in particular. But Torino were arguably the greatest club side in the world at that time. Pretty much every Torino player was an Italian international, and I think it took Torino as a football club. I don't think have ever recovered from it, and Italian football, I think, took its time. It took its toll on those as well. My cat's going absolutely balmy in my garden, by the way. So yeah, the El Grande Torino, Immortal Torino, by Roberto Panino, and also a player. Finally, Terry, I'd never heard of him. Tory Gillick. Does that ring any bells for you?
Is he Dutch?
No, he's Scottish.
No.
Yeah, played for Everton, one of your former clubs, and the great Glasgow Rangers. But it's a book by David Erdney and Stewart, out soon. Tory Gillick, and it's the life and career of a football great. I didn't know anything about him before yesterday, and I was just.
Well, I've never heard of him. I mean,
yeah,
I've heard of all the Scottish great players. No.
So we will, going forward, we'll be talking more about Tory Gillick. So it's watch your space. Those are the 3 books in Book Corner this week. Strange but true, fullback. This is a cracker. This is Norman Young signed for Aston Villa in April 1926, but had to wait 10 years before making his first team debut in 1936. Having made his debut, he was sold 2 days later to Barnsley. I mean, good grief.
I wouldn't loyal at Aston Villa. Talk about being unloyal. Players being unloyal.
I mean, he's waited 10.
He's waited all that time to make his debut, thinks he's into the team, and then gets sold.
Mind you, they've just got rid of the manager, haven't they, Barnsley?
Yeah.
I mean...
And the big playoffs.
Oh, no, it just seems... Again, we don't know what goes on at football clubs.
No.
But on the surface, it does look quite bonkers. But their form of late seems to have dropped off. I mean, your boys, Doncaster Rovers, 9 on the spin now. They're really...
Dennis, what you were talking about is... what was his name? Glennie Coy or something.
Who's that?
The Scottish guy who was on about.
Tory
Gillick. I butt in and say, what about Doncaster? I kept saying they're going to get beat, and I obviously didn't want them to get beat because I kept saying they're going to get beat. They've been on such a run, it's unreal. Well, they went 1-0 down tonight, and then they took one up.
I mean, this will be 10 on the spin if Donny wins tonight. Absolutely incredible.
Well, they're winning 2-1.
Yeah,
and Leicester's just taking the lead.
And when we were, in the football forecast, maybe turn of the year? I mean, they were absolutely awful. Couldn't get a win
They were
from
down
anywhere.
at bottom.
Yeah, they must have been in the bottom three, at that stage. They were terrible. And you kept, jokingly, are they going to lose again? And you back, the other team, and then they'd win. And because you backed the other team, they kept winning.
I'm going to go against them because I don't want them to get beat. But they went on such a run, I had to keep with it.
Absolutely. And as we said in the podcast before, you've influenced their results more as a pundit and a podcast rather than a player.
The manager because the manager's done a terrific job.
Oh, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So well done to Doncaster Rovers. Have you ever had a badge upside down on your football kit, Teen? How the hell do they do that?
No.
Have you seen Emi Martinez,
No.
Villa's goalkeeper? Yeah, his badge, it's upside down, literally on his kit.
Has it been done on purpose?
I don't know. I don't know what the story, but if it is done on purpose, why would you want an upside down lion on your badge? I don't know.
To be noticed, to be different.
Maybe.
Look at these players now cutting the socks and all that. How? It's all weird, isn't it?
I just don't understand why they do the socks. It's not every player. It just seems to be a few. Gallagher does. Gallagher does, don't it, Chelsea? Bellingham does.
One player will start a trend off.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Following it, don't you?
Absolutely. But I'm looking at the game tonight, and I can't really see any cutaway socks. But again, I don't know why they do that. But, is it something to do with their calf muscles, or is it just a trend that they want to set? I mean, they look bloody stupid in my opinion, and I don't know why they do. Must cost the club a fortune in socks. And I tell you something, wouldn't have done it in your. Imagine if you'd done that at Sheffield Wednesday, Jack would have gone ballistic, wouldn't he?
Well, you wouldn't have been allowed.
No.
Cloughie wouldn't have allowed anything like that. So it's weird, completely weird.
But also the clubs wouldn't, because, I mean, you had a shirt and then that match-worn shirt would be washed with all the rest of the kits, and you would have pretty much that same cloth, that shirt, them shorts. Because did you have the same shorts? You wouldn't have had numbers on the...
Unless somebody come into the team, then he would wear that number.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because
I mean, it was 1 to 11 back. But
yeah, of course it was, yeah. But I mean, the shorts, I suppose it was, you'd pick up a pair of shorts. You were all about the same size, so it wasn't particularly your shorts or your socks. But you would pick them up, and you would expect the socks to have no holes in them. Well, I mean, you would have 2 holes, obviously, to put your feet in there, but certainly no holes in the calves to do whatever they do with the. Whether it's air to the calves, I don't know. I can't.
Air to the throne.
Absolutely. I just don't understand it. I don't get it, and it looks quite stupid. But FA Cup semi-finals too. What was your take on it? Ten Hag thinks that the media were embarrassing.
I thought Chelsea were very unlucky.
Yeah.
You can look at it. Well, they had 2 great chances, so it's their own downfall. Own downfall when you get chances like that and you don't take them. Well, Coventry, listen, that was the biggest shock I've seen, that AC Milan 3-0 up in the Champions League, and Liverpool coming back.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you're saying, you don't expect the Italian team to be 3-0 up. Now, you don't expect, the biggest club in this country, whether the best team in this country at the moment in time, but the biggest club in this country, 3-0 up at Wembley against a championship, against a team what struggled for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
It's and had a ground to play on, and had the own players up until this season. 3-0 up, and well, how you can disallow that goal? But when you look at it, I can't see how they can split the difference.
No.
And to listen to the rest of this podcast, head on over to www.patreon.com/SRBmedia. Thank you.